Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Memorable Life. If you like the video, please subscribe to my channel Memorable Life and click on the bell icon. If you feel the video is informative, please share and click on thumbs up icon. Please give your suggestions through comments. The Great Depression provided a political opportunity for Hitler. On the 25th of September 1930, Hitler stated on oath that his party would pursue political power exclusively through democratic elections, which won him many supporters in the officer corps. Heinrich Brünings, the Chancellor of Germany during the Weimar Republic from 1930 to 1932, his serious measures brought little economic improvement and were extremely unpopular. Hitler exploited this by targeting his political messages specifically at people who had been affected by the inflation of the 1920s and the Depression, such as farmers, war veterans, and the middle class. On the 25th of February 1932, Hitler was appointed as administrator for the state's representative to the Reichsrat in Berlin. In 1932, Hitler participated in presidential elections against Hindenburg. On the 27th of January 1932, Hitler gave a speech to the Industry Club which won him support from many of Germany's most powerful industrialists. Hitler used the campaign slogan, "Hitler over Germany," a reference to his political commitment. Hitler was one of the first politicians to use aircraft travel for political purposes, and used it effectively. Although Hitler lost to Hindenburg, this election established Hitler as a strong force in German politics. Franz von Papen and Alfred Hugenberg, along with several other industrialists and businessmen, encouraged Hindenburg to appoint Hitler as leader of a government independent from parliamentary parties. Hindenburg reluctantly agreed to appoint Hitler as Chancellor. On the 30th of January 1933, the Nazi Party gained 3 posts. Hitler was named Chancellor, Wilhelm Frick Minister of the Interior, and Hermann Göring Minister of the Interior for Prussia. On the 27th of February 1933, the Reichstag building was set on fire. Göring blamed a communist plot, because Dutch communist Marinus van der Lubbe was found inside the burning building. At Hitler's pressure, Hindenburg responded by signing the Reichstag fire decree. The order was used as the legal basis for the imprisonment of anyone considered to be opponents of the Nazis, and to suppress publications not considered friendly to the Nazi cause. On the 28th of February, drafted by the Nazis, the law was permitted under Article 48 of the Weimar Constitution, which gave the president the power to take emergency measures to protect public safety and order. Activities of the German Communist Party, KPD, were suppressed, and some 4,000 KPD members were arrested. Hitler's government brought the Enabling Act. The act, officially titled the Law to Remedy the Distress of People and Reich. The Enabling Act, along with the Reichstag fire decree, transformed Hitler's government into a legal dictatorship. In June 1934, Adolf Hitler speech as dictator to a British correspondent in Berlin, stating, "At the risk of appearing to talk nonsense, I tell you that the National Socialist movement will go on for 1,000 years. Don't forget how people laughed at me 15 years ago when I declared that one day I would govern Germany. They laugh now, just as foolishly, when I declare that I shall remain in power." Having achieved full control over the legislative and executive branches of government, Hitler and his allies began to suppress the remaining opposition. The Social Democratic Party was banned and its assets seized. On the 14th of July 1933, the Nazi Party was declared the only legal political party in Germany. On the 2nd of August 1934, Hindenburg died. The previous day, the cabinet had enacted the law concerning the highest state office of the Reich. This law stated that upon Hindenburg's death, the office of president would be ended and its powers merged with those of the chancellor.
August 1934, President von Hindenburg died. Hitler became absolute ruler of Germany. Now he could do what he had spelled out in Mein Kampf for all to see. In substance it was, today Germany, tomorrow the world.
Hitler thus became head of state as well as head of government, and was formally named as Führer und Reichskanzler, which means leader and chancellor. As head of state, Hitler became commander-in-chief of the armed forces. In early 1938, Hitler used blackmail to strengthen his hold over the military by establishing the Blomberg-Fritsch affair, also known as the Blomberg-Fritsch crisis, that resulted in taking control of the German armed forces to dictator Adolf Hitler. Hitler forced his war minister, Field Marshal Werner von Blomberg, to resign by using a police file that showed that Blomberg's new wife had a record for prostitution. Army commander Colonel General Werner von Fritsch was removed because he was falsely accused of being homosexual. Both men were removed because they objected to Hitler's demand to make the unified armed forces ready for war as early as 1938. By early February 1938, 12 more generals had been removed. Hitler took care to give his dictatorship the appearance of legality. Many of his laws were explicitly based on the Reichstag fire law and hence on Article 48 of the Weimar Constitution. The Nazis threatened for serious counterstrike against anyone who did not vote or dared to vote no. Reconstruction and rearmament were financed through MEFO bills, named after the company Metallurgical Research Corporation, was a promissory note used for a system of deferred payment to finance the Nazi German government's program of rearmament. Printing money and seizing the assets of people arrested as enemies of the state, including Jews. Unemployment fell from 6 million in 1932 to 1 million in 1936. The Anglo-German Naval Agreement, AGNA, of the 18th of June 1935 was a naval agreement which allowed German Navy size to increase to 35% of that of the British Navy. Hitler called the signing of the AGNA the happiest day of his life, believing that the agreement marked the beginning of the Anglo-German alliance he had predicted in Mein Kampf. Hitler felt that a severe decline in living standards in Germany, as a result of the economic crisis, could only be stopped by military aggression aimed at seizing Austria and Czechoslovakia.
Why was Austria important to Hitler? It put him on the southern flank of Czechoslovakia, and Czechoslovakia was the key to the control of Eastern Europe.
The German Chancellor Bismarck explained that years ago when he said, "He who would conquer Europe must first hold the bastions of Bohemia." And Bohemia was now part of Czechoslovakia.
But Czechoslovakia was tough. It had a good army. It had good equipment. It had one of the finest munition plants in the world, the Skoda Works, which Hitler wanted very badly. It had incorruptible President Banish. It had a military alliance with France. And France had a military alliance with Britain. Hitler had to move carefully, find excuses to take Czechoslovakia one piece at a time. He found his excuse in the Sudetenland, a portion of Czechoslovakia bordering Germany.
In March 1936, Germany reoccupied the demilitarized zone in the Rhineland in violation of the Versailles Treaty.
Tanks, motorized equipment, and one of our own inventions, the dive bomber. This rearmament was strictly illegal, according to the Versailles Treaty. And the next illegal step Hitler took was to march his troops into the Rhineland, a strip of land between Germany and France, demilitarized after the last war as a precaution against future German aggression. But Hitler's plan of Eastern conquest demanded a barrier against democratic action in the West. So Hitler remilitarized the Rhineland and began building the formidable Siegfried Line, a chain of forts and defenses 450 miles long and in some places 30 miles wide. Germany had fought one two-front war and didn't want another.
On the 1st of November, Benito Mussolini, an Italian politician and journalist who founded and led the National Fascist Party, declared an axis between Germany and Italy. On the 25th of November, Germany signed the Anti-Comintern Pact. Officially, the agreement against the Communist International was an anti-communist pact with Japan, Britain, China, Italy, and Poland. But only Italy signed in 1937.
And in Britain, a happy Chamberlain came back declaring he had achieved peace, peace in our time. One of the most tragic and ironic scenes
of our two peoples never to go to war with one another again.
Peace. It wasn't peace. The Nazis hadn't merely got 3 million more souls under the German flag. By taking the Sudetenland, they had made Czechoslovakia defenseless. Without these fortifications, Czechoslovakia was disarmed, a ripe plum ready to fall into Hitler's lap. Within 6 months of declaring that he wanted no more territory anywhere, he violated the Munich Agreement, marched in, and took the whole of the Czech state, though he had specifically promised, "I have no further interest in the Czechoslovakian state. That is guaranteed. We want no Czechs." Austria and Czechoslovakia were gone without a fight, and Hitler was getting his control of Eastern Europe. Poland was next on the map.
Hitler ended the Sino-German alliance, which is the instrumental in modernizing the industry and the armed forces, with the Republic of China, to instead enter into an alliance with the more modern and powerful Empire of Japan. In late 1938 and early 1939, the continuing economic crisis caused by rearmament forced Hitler to make major defense cuts. Hitler's "Export or Die" speech of the 30th of January 1939. He called for an economic offensive to increase German foreign exchange holdings to pay for raw materials such as high-grade iron needed for military weapons.
But inside Germany, it was a different story. Here, in utmost secrecy, the hardening up process, building up Hitler's army and his industry.
Tell the world we have no raw materials, and never let them see what goes on. Day after day, night after night, month after month, year after year. We must have the world's most powerful club. Forget ours. Forget working conditions. Forget how to think. Forge the club of blood and iron. Let the democracies talk about freedom. No freedom here. No labor unions. No overtime. The Führer tells you where to work, when to work, how long to work, how much your work is worth. Forge the club of blood and iron. We have a sacred mission. Today we rule Germany. Tomorrow, the world.
If you like the video, please subscribe to my channel Memorable Life and click on the bell icon. If you feel the video is informative, please share and click on thumbs up icon. Please give your suggestions through comments.